Avatar Season 2 takes a massive jump as compared to Season 1. Again, this isn't a review, so I'm not going to get too much into why, but it's safe to say that Season 2 blows Season 1 out of the water, and that's saying something considering the fact that Season 1 is very enjoyable. The rules are straightforward, so I don't see any reason to delay any further. We have 20 chapters to get into, so we might as well get started with the weakest chapter in Book 2, Earth. The swamp comes in as the weakest episode in all of Season 2. The main reason for this is that of all the episodes with a weaker A-plot, this is really the only one that doesn't at least have an interesting Iroh-Zuko B-plot, as it only consists of 2 scenes that bookend the episode. It's not that these 2 scenes aren't good or very important, it just doesn't take up enough of the episode to overcome the A-plot. A giant swamp is just not an interesting setting for an episode. It's ugly and uncomfortable. Worst of all are these guys who are annoying and cringy at best. And they definitely drag the episode down as a whole. It's not all bad though. We see Sokka and Katara deal with some grief, and the message of everything being connected definitely hits home and sets up some interesting themes for later in the season. The Serpent's Pass is not a bad episode, but it is a little boring. Having Jet meet Zuko and having them work together is an interesting premise. I like Jet's character and how he is looking for a new start in Ba Sing Se, but has to work against his hatred of the Fire Nation, and struggles to do so. The best part of the episode is Aang and him dealing with his loss of Appa. I love how he tries to cope with it in a less angry and destructive way on the surface, but is actually arguably more destructive, as Aang thinks letting go of hope is the best way to cope with his problem. This is what makes the scene with the newborn child so good, as it reinstates hope into Aang. Sokka being overprotective of Suki is one of the lower points of the episode. I don't hate it, but it doesn't do a ton for me. I do really like Sokka not being quite over Yue yet and struggling with balancing that and his feelings for Suki. This shot in particular is fantastic, with Yue literally coming between the two of them. I like the Serpent's Pass a lot. It just can't compare with a lot of the rest of Season 2, due to its slower pace and lack of moments that leave your jaw dropped to the floor. The A-plot in Avatar Day is pretty bad. I mean, it isn't offensively bad or anything, but it does lack almost any greater literary value. There are some funny moments, but nothing about this episode really sticks with you. That is, except for Zuko returning as the Blue Spirit in order to steal as he struggles with living on the run. After Uncle gives him a top-notch Uncle speech, Zuko departs on his own. The fact that such good Zuko-ness is sandwiched between such mediocrity is why Avatar Day lands here at 18. The Cave of Two Lovers is a tough episode to judge. On one hand, the romance in Avatar has always been one of the weakest aspects, and when it is at the center point of an episode, they often fall a little short. Cave of Two Lovers is no different. However, there is some decent humor, mainly with Sokka getting frustrated with the hippie nomads, and Aang and Katara's first kiss is actually really creative. But above all, the real reason it is able to rise above a lot of the other weaker Book 2 episodes is, you guessed it, the Zuko B-plot. Zuko, for the first time, is not a prince or an outcast. He is treated as a normal person, and seeing him connect with the young Earth Kingdom girl is one of my favorite Zuko moments. I mean, I probably have about 100 favorite Zuko moments, but that's not really the point here. The point is, the seed of Zuko being good has been planted, and the turmoil that will highlight his character for the next season and a half really starts to take center stage in this episode. Unfortunately, the Cave of Two Lovers portion of the episode just isn't quite up to that standard. The Avatar State is the opening to Season 2, and definitely kicks off a new tier here in my rankings, as it is significantly better than the episodes I've listed below it. It properly introduces Azula in an extremely memorable way, sets Iroh and Zuko's paths for the season, and really shows that there is no length that Iroh will not go to help Zuko. The A-plot is no slouch either, albeit not particularly great. Questions are raised about the use of the Avatar State as Aang has to struggle with what the right way to save the world is. There isn't much I really dislike here, it just goes to show how strong Season 2 is. Return to OMASHU is very solid. You got some great action, helped out by the new additions of Ty Lee and May, and Azula. You also have some great problem solving and humor. It's just a very solid all-round episode. But it doesn't necessarily stand out in a packed Season 2, but it is still definitely enjoyable, so it comes in here at 15. The library are 2 words that will send any Halo fan running as fast as they can in the other direction. But to an Avatar fan, the words are far less impactful. My biggest issue with the library is that the whole episode is just used to set up stuff for episodes to come. Appa getting captured, the solar eclipse are all introduced, but all these aren't fully explored until later chapters. That's not to say this episode is bad by any stretch. It's still funny and has some top-notch world building. It just lacks the engagement from the viewer that a lot of the other episodes do generate in this season. City of Walls and Secrets comes in as the next best episode in Season 2. We see Ba Sing Se is not a city that it was cracked up to be, as it has been corrupted from the inside under a totalitarian regime headed by the Dai Li. Some good humor can be found, the Jet Zuko duel is cool, and this is when Book 2 starts to get kind of creepy from all the government control. It just doesn't truly shine in any one category. The episode as a whole is solid but unspectacular, so I can't really rank it any higher in this star-studded season. Appa's Lost Days is one of the more interesting episodes of Book 2. It's very good, showing us Appa's journey from the time he gets captured by the Sandbenders to when he gets captured in Ba Sing Se. Appa is made into an extremely sympathetic character as he is really given a lot of personality. Flashbacks like these give Appa a surprising amount of depth that just hadn't been explored as much up until this point. My gripe with this episode is that it does kind of drag just a hint. The Tale of Momo and Tales of Ba Sing Se doesn't drag because it's just a piece of an episode, but Appa's Lost Days is a full 23 minutes. I feel like they were in a lose-lose situation because it would feel weird to break the flow of the episode and cut to a B-plot with either Zuko or Uncle or Team Avatar, but 23 minutes straight of Appa is just a little too long. Overall, though, it is an impressively good episode and poignant chapter. The Drill is an action-packed episode that is entertaining from beginning to end, with everything we have come to love about Avatar. However, while the action is excellent, it just doesn't have enough emotional moments or character development to make it stand out as compared to most of Book 2. Don't get me wrong, The Drill is still very entertaining, and maybe Book 2 needed a fun action episode with all the heavy emotional material, but I can't in good conscience rank this chapter above a lot of the rest of Book 2. The Earth King is the episode where Team Avatar finally gets to meet the Earth King, and Long Fang is finally revealed to be a traitor to the Earth Kingdom. I love the moment when the two agents look at each other, in a slight hesitation of whether or not they are going to arrest Long Fang or not. I like the Earth King and Bosco, however I'm not a huge fan of how much this episode is spent convincing the Earth King. I understand why it had to be, as the Earth King is automatically believing a bunch of random kids would feel rushed and unbelievable, but it can be a little tedious, especially upon multiple watch-throughs. The positives still outweigh the negatives, though. The fight to get into the palace may be one of the Avatar's best. Zuko's struggle is given plenty of screen time after he ends up choosing good, and that ending that stings the line of good luck Team Avatar has been having, and that sets up a nice and dark finale. Top-notch. Tales of Ba Sing Se is one of the hardest chapters to judge. It has the highest highs and the lowest lows of maybe any episode. I'll quickly go through each tale from best to worst, though. Might as well while we're here, right? The tale of Sokka is a waste of time and does absolutely nothing to enhance or embellish his character. Had the whole episode been like this, it would have been my least favorite episode in the entire series, and it wouldn't have even been close. The tale of Aang isn't so bad, but it is ultimately a waste of time. Again, nothing really is embellished here. No character traits are highlighted that will come into play later. It's just Aang making a zoo. This could be interpreted as Aang helping other animals because he can't help Appa, but if that's what they were going for, I don't think it was played up enough here. I could have done without this tale. The tale of Toph and Katara is a decent one. We see Toph show that she doesn't care about appearances because she is blind, and we see their relationship start to grow. The problem is the whole don't care about appearances thing is never even remotely brought up again. It's just left in the dust. Still, the message does continue to flesh out Toph Beifong's character. The tale is an interesting idea, decently executed that ultimately is good, but not great. The tale of Momo is very good. It's sad to see him struggle with the loss of Appa. It is also the first time where Momo's character was really given any attention, and this is the perfect episode to do it, as it doesn't have to take up a full runtime and risk getting stale. The tale of Momo is a great example of how to show don't tell, and it leads very nicely into the next episode, Appa's Lost Days. The tale of Zuko is fantastic. Seeing Zuko get to be a normal teenager for an episode and go on a date is pure gold. It represents what Zuko was promised and lost, and what he could have been if he were to accept his new standing in life. But the creators don't shove this in your face. They let you just enjoy the moments and soak it all in, and leave you to think about the larger implications after. Just a fucking A+. If the tale of Zuko is fantastic and pure gold, I don't even know what words I would use to describe the tale of Iroh, because it's better than the tale of Zuko and isn't even close. This episode is easily in the top 10 moments of Avatar, if not top 5. Iroh helping others on the birthday of his deceased son, only to sprout the line,
"Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you."
I don't even know what to say here. It's just so simple and sad and beautiful and deep and everything you want out of a poignant moment. And it brings into focus the idea of Uncle seeing Zuko as his new son and his desire to help him. It's all tied together with a beautiful song. And as if this moment couldn't get any more powerful, it hits you with this. So as you can see from those tale analysis, it's really hard to judge this episode. The range from the tale of Sokka to the tale of Iroh is just so massive. I will add a little bit at the end here though. I wish that some of the tales were able to simmer just a little more. I understand shorter, quicker tales was the goal of this chapter, and it has its strengths, but some of the stories here feel very rushed, as if they end before you can get comfortable. If you cut out Aang and Sokka's story, and give a little extra time to Uncle and Toph's story, and just a hint more to Zuko, and keep Momo's where it is at the end with the same length, I believe this episode would fare better. I also really like how almost all the tales here deal with helping others, often to help themselves. And I will make one final point on this episode. I know we've talked about it a really long time. I do like the idea of having an episode where they explore each character just a little bit in a short amount of runtime. I think it was a really creative way to get new voices adding to the show, and an interesting way to explore each character just a little further. Lake LAOGAI is where Earth kicks into high gear, Team Avatar uncovering the secret underground fortress of the Dai Li. We get some great action, but the highlight has to be Uncle's speech to Zuko, which is one of his best. And Zuko setting Appa free is the moment that really starts to transform Zuko, as it is one of the first times that Zuko chooses to do good. Other standout moments includes Jet's redemption and death.
Did Jet just die? You know, it was really unclear.
And of course Appa and Aang's reunion, an all-round solid episode that leads into even better episodes. It pains me that I cannot put The Chase higher and should stand as a testament to the quality of Season 2. The Chase is an action-packed episode with some awesome battles and great character moments. My two favorite ones are...
So, where is your nephew?
I've been tracking him, actually.
Is he lost?
Yes, a little bit.
And... I know, Zuko and Iroh, so predictable. But the former is just such a powerful line that despite being so straightforward and simple, you feel the pain in Iroh's voice. And the latter is great because you can sense the guilt from Zuko and that bone-chilling. The one thing I am less of a fan of is the testy team Avatar group conflict stuff. It's not bad, but it also isn't the most enjoyable to watch. As a whole, The Chase is a fast-paced adrenaline rush with some Western influences that hits from start to finish. The desert is a fantastic episode in every way. Team Avatar must rally to find their way out of the desert after Appa is stolen. Aang really shines in this episode as he has to deal with the loss of Appa, his one tie to his past way of life. The focus on grief and loss helps to create tangible and relatable themes. Standout moments are when Aang kills the vulture bee, and of course when he goes into the Avatar state and Katara helps him out while everyone else runs. The former is a dark moment that the audience knows goes against every moral in Aang's body, while the latter is a touching and poignant moment that helps to connect Aang and Katara's characters even further. Aang might be the centerpiece of focus, but don't forget about Katara here. Seeing her struggle to keep the group together and play the motherly role is one of the things that makes the desert great. Sokka kicks in some solid humor after getting high on some cactus juice. Another thing to mention is that every group member is missing something in this episode, which is why they really feel like the underdogs in this episode. Aang has lost Appa, Katara can't use her waterbending, Toph can't really see, and Sokka is basically high. Seeing our characters really struggle in situations that they're uncomfortable with and battle with themselves makes the desert one of the highlights of Season 2. The Blind Bandit is a super enjoyable episode that is something for everyone. It's most notable, of course, for introducing us to Toph Beifong, a character that would become a fan favorite. It's easy to take her addition for granted now, but looking back, it was a risky move. Bringing in a new character to the core group of main characters for the entire rest of the season could really backfire and ruin the rest of the book if the character was weak or annoying or didn't mesh well and flash good chemistry with the rest of the group. Lucky for us, as we know, Toph is a great addition. But it is a fun thing to look back on. The Blind Bandit has tons of humor, shows off great earthbending, and introduces us to a fan-favorite character. While not being particularly emotionally weighty, it still dives enough into our characters to satisfy that itch. All of this combines to be one of the highlights of early Book 2. Bitter Work is just one of those episodes that really is all around amazing. Aang struggles to learn earthbending, as it is the opposite of air, while Toph plays the tough teacher. What I love about Toph's teaching is that it forces Aang to confront his fear and confront the problem, which has been established as Aang's biggest character flaw. However, Toph does eventually realize that she has to positively reinforce Aang. It's almost like she was on the right track with her teaching, but she too had to learn to adjust just like Aang. Sokka's run-in with Fufu Cuddly Poops is adorable and hilarious, but you all know what time it is, the Zuko B-plot portion of the episode. Uncle teaching Zuko about lightning bending and lightning redirection is top-notch world building, and it all culminates in one of my favorite Zuko speeches.
You've always thrown everything you could at me. Well, I can take it, and now I can give it back! Come on! Strike me! You've never held back before!
The way the tear just blends in with the rain, just wow. Zuko alone is a masterpiece. If by now you haven't realized I have a man crush on Zuko, I don't know what to tell you. So obviously the idea of having a full 23 minutes of Zuko, as opposed to getting the B-plot table scraps, is extremely appealing to me. Showing us Zuko's past and his present makes us understand why he is the way he is, and makes him more sympathetic than ever. Also, seeing him be jeered when he reveals his identity in order to save a boy and free a town of the abusive soldiers is very powerful, as Zuko's truly caught in limbo without identity. This episode really does bring back flashbacks of The Storm, where the backstory is fleshed out and Zuko becomes more of a protagonist than an antagonist. There's so much more I could talk about in this episode, but I will save a lot of that for my review, and we should be getting on with our day. The Guru may be overshadowed by its second half, more on that later, but this is not to take anything away from it. We gain great insight into Aang as he tries to open all of his chakras, each dealing with an inner demon. It's a great way to dive deeper into Aang without feeling like the show is just telling you outright, as its setting and context is natural to our character opening up. Aang has the opportunity to gain full control of the Avatar state and the power to end the war and all the pain it is causing, and to make up for all his mistakes of running away and leaving the world in disarray. However, in order to achieve this power, he had to let Katara go, something he is unwilling to do. The whole episode, and its second half for that matter, really has an Empire Strikes Back feel to it. On top of the whole Aang side of things, there are plenty of other storylines that are hard-hitting. Toph escaping the grasp of her captors by inventing earthbending courtesy of this transition.
Even the separation of the four elements is an illusion. If you open your mind, you will see that all the elements are one, four parts of the same whole. Even metal is just a part of earth that has been purified and refined.
It is always cool to see, and I especially love Sokka's reunion with his father. It's filled with many great moments such as these. We also get Azula working her way into controlling Ba Sing Se by controlling the Dai Li. Great stuff there. Above all, my favorite part of the episode is, of course, the Zuko portion of the episode.
Who thought when we came to this city as refugees that I'd end up owning my own tea shop? Follow your passion, Zuko, and life will reward you.
Congratulations, Uncle.
I'm very thankful.
You deserve it. The Jasmine Dragon will be the best tea shop in the city.
No, I'm thankful because you decided to share this special day with me. It means more than you know.
Need I say more? I mean, that should be enough for anyone to understand what makes Zuko's contribution to this episode absolutely stellar. After seeing him struggle and choose wrong so many times, Zuko has become happy and content through his own choice, and Uncle's love for Zuko just radiates through the line. The fact that Uncle finding his own happiness isn't what makes the day special, it's the fact that he has Zuko to enjoy it with him. Fucking A++. While the Crossroads of Destiny may be the weakest finale in terms of scale and spectacle, it more than makes up for it in terms of character development. Zuko and Aang, our two main characters, are both confronted with decisions that change their entire journey and person overall. Zuko is finally faced with the ultimate decision of choosing good or evil. This is the moment his entire character has been building towards for 2 seasons. When it comes time, Zuko is too weak and chooses to help Azula in her fight with the Avatar. And this look on Uncle's face says it all. Aang has to eventually choose to let Katara go in order to open up his chakra to help save the world. I love how you expect a repeat of Season 1 in a way, where Aang taps into his spirit power and kicks some serious ass, but instead Azula shocks him, sending shockwaves through the whole audience as they half expect the line of the Avatar to end. And if Aang did die, that would be the case. Fortunately, Aang is revived by Katara's spirit water. Here's one problem I do have, though. I really would have preferred to save the Aang revive until Season 3, as it would have made the Season 2 ending even more of a defeat. However, I do understand not wanting to keep kids waiting, thinking that Aang is dead for a whole year, especially when, let's be honest, us adults would have assumed that Aang would come back to life somehow. With that being said, the ending is an absolute punch to the audience's gut, as everything they worked so hard for fails, and the war is practically over as the Fire Nation has taken the last great Earth stronghold. Aang, for the second major time in his young life, has failed the world, and it stings Aang just as much as the audience. Here's some other minor points I want to touch on this episode before we wrap up, though, as there is a lot I want to at least touch on. Azula's ascension to the throne is awesome, especially with this line.
You've beaten me at my own game.
Don't flatter yourself. You were never even a player.
I love how this shot is clearly a flashback to this shot. I love that Aang and Uncle get a scene, as this is the only time in the entire show we see them interact. And the Dragon of the West scene is pretty bitchin'.
Bitchin'.
Okay, sure. Bitchin'.
So there it is. The Crossroads of Destiny takes my gold medal for Season 2. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I won't keep you much longer. If you want to leave your list down below, just leave your list and maybe a little reasoning so I can understand where you're coming from. And hopefully you guys will be excited to see Avatar Book 3 Fire.